Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to show you a replay I recorded in my Myoko, the Tier 7 Japanese heavy cruiser. So, this game is going to be another example of what to do when you're bottom, or mid or bottom tier in a cruiser and your team sort of collapses on a flank. Now, in this situation, I'm kind of trying to stay a little bit far back, just because I'm concerned about their battleships. The Myoko is relatively tanky, but it does have a very large citadel, so you do have to be somewhat careful, especially against Tier 8s. And they have a Tirpitz and a North Carolina back there, and I really would like to avoid getting shot by them. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of chilling back here and using my stellar HE on the Myoko to just pummel these guys from a distance. And I'm just trying to kind of feather some shots over this island here, trying to get shots into the Tirpitz, trying to do a little damage. Now, I've experimented with the AP on this ship, and in my experience, it's kind of hit or miss against battleships sometimes. It's kind of hit or miss against battleships, and I'm finding that my HE tends to be pretty consistent. You do get a lot of 4, 5, 6K volleys against battleships, which is very nice. And now I've actually decided to switch to AP, and I fire one salvo and then back off. I think I actually missed because he looks like he slows down. But right now what I'm thinking is, alright, so we have a Gneissen out here and he's running away, and they have a Tirpitz and a North Carolina, so all those guys need to do is push in, and we can't really do a lot about that. So what I'm thinking is I want to punish these guys for pushing, while also staying alive. You notice that as soon as I get spotted, they're shooting at me, and that's because I'm really the closest target to them that they can see, and I need to realize that and get out of this situation, so that's what I've decided to do. Icarus gets spotted, so I decide I want to try and aim at him. The reason I have the minimap so big is because I want to really sort of highlight what's going on in the game so that you can kind of follow along with my thinking as I'm playing this. But you'll notice that they have all the cap circles. Now, this is really not an ideal situation, but right now, like, I don't have a lot of an opportunity to do anything about it. I don't have hydroacoustic search on this ship because I like to run defensive AA, since I'm a pretty large target, and carriers do like to target cruisers like this. But what I'm trying to do now is kind of get a little bit in closer. I'm going to try and use these islands here just as some sort of cover, and there's a 3K volley against the Tirpitz. I'm going to try and put some shots into this Icarus, but I think these probably are going to miss. But anyway, I'm seeing, okay, the Tirpitz is pushing through, the North Carolina is pushing through. What I want to do is kind of use these islands, use this distance that I have between me and them to be able to do damage to them. And I think I actually did manage to hit the Icarus. I wasn't paying a lot of attention, though, just now. But so we're just going to farm this Tirpitz as he pushes in, right? So now these guys have extended, and they've pushed into the Bismarck, the Gneisenau, and me. And at this point, there's not really a lot of places for those two battleships to go. Now, unfortunately, I spot a Megami, and unfortunately, the Megami is going to decide he wants to shoot me. So I'm going to lose some shots, and then I'm going to switch to AP, because I anticipate that he's going to keep going, but instead he turns in, which is going to make my AP volley ineffective, so I switch to HE. And there's a 5K damage volley, right? HE on this ship is really, really brutal, which is pretty nice when you're dealing with things that are sailing right into you, and sort of kiting them away. One downside to this ship that I have noticed, and you'll notice that, you know, in between shots I'm kind of angling a little more heavily. And the reason for that is because the shell arcs, well, not the shell arcs, but the turret arcs on this ship are pretty dreadful, if I'm being quite honest. So right now I have to give an exorbitant amount of broadside just to shoot at this Tirpitz with all of my guns. And so you notice as soon as I fire, I try and kind of turn away because I don't want to keep getting shot. But anyway, the name of the game right now is I'm just shooting at these guys as they're pushing in. I'm kiting them away. And this ship isn't great at kiting, again, because of those turret arcs. But kiting ships away is still a really, really useful skill to have, and it's something that's really important that you learn how to do. Because shooting at things that are going towards you is a lot more easier than shooting at things that are sailing away from you. So if I'm sailing away from these guys, I'm making it harder for them to shoot at me, and I'm making it easier for me to shoot at them. So there's another fire on this Tirpitz. And I'm literally just going to farm this guy as he pushes through C. So now I'm turning back in. The reason I'm turning back in is because I anticipate that this Tirpitz is going to go down pretty soon. He's on half of his hit points. He's being shot at by me. He's being shot by the Gneisenau. He's being shot by the Bismarck, and he's pushing into a crossfire. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a good opportunity to load AP. Unfortunately, I'm actually going to pass around this island here. I thought about stopping to stay and shoot at him, but the way I see it, I maybe get one extra salvo on the turpets, but at the same time, the amount of time that I lose by doing that is a lot, and I want to maximize my damage output from this game, because now we're starting to win. All of the Massachusetts goes down, so that's not really great. But right now, I'm just thinking about getting back into the thick of the fight. I am a little bit isolated in B here, which is a little concerning, but I do anticipate that the turpets will die pretty soon. The Icarus goes down, and now I'm just thinking about trying to get more damage. Sure enough, the Amagi and the Icarus both go down, and I'm kind of caught by surprise by this Akatsuki. I could have shot him, but I had the AP loaded, and I felt like it would be more useful to shoot the turpets. And there's a 3k damage volley. And so right now I'm actually sailing sort of directly at the Akatsuki, but I'm also using this island as cover, right? If the Akatsuki has dropped torpedoes on me, we're able to pick up the kill on the turpets as well. But if the Akatsuki has dropped torpedoes on me, they're not going to hit because I'm using this island as cover between me and him. If I continue to sail around that left side of the island, I probably would have taken damage. Okay, so anyway, now there's a North Carolina pushing into sea, and I want more damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to farm this guy as he pushes in. You know, a lot of high-damage games in these kinds of ships are really more about just not making mistakes and being able to put out consistent damage than making insane, crazy plays. Like, occasionally that happens where you get, like, the legendary game where, you know, you're on a flank and you make some crazy play that kills, like, 3 ships at once. That's pretty rare. Typically, high-damage games in ships like this, in cruisers for the most part, typically don't involve, like, crazy playmaking, but more involve just consistently not getting yourself killed. So right now I feel kind of safe taking this risk. I can't really shoot over the island because I'm a Myoko. And I feel like this North Carolina will absolutely be more focused on the T-61 who's charging him down. So that's what I take advantage of. So I'm just going to keep shooting this guy. I'm literally just going to farm him as he pushes through. That's the entire game plan. Right? And this is a situation where I didn't make any crazy, massive plays, but I'm going to end up with 110k damage in this game because I just didn't make mistakes. I left a situation when it started to get hairy, and I just literally farmed the enemy as they pushed through. So now I anticipate that the North Carolina is going to die. So I start to turn my turrets away, and then he doesn't die. So I turn my turrets back, try and nab the kill, but I don't quite get it. So the rest of this game is a little bit boring. So I'll probably just go right to the post-game analysis, talking a little bit about the Myoko and a little bit about what I did in this game. But most of the rest of this match is just going to be me farming this Colorado, farming the Megami a little bit, and farming the Minsk and the Gallant. And we're going to end this game with 109k damage. So anyway, with that finished, I'm just going to move on to the garage, the port, sorry, and just talk a little bit about the Myoko, talk a little bit about what I was doing in this game, and get into a little bit of analysis for you. Okay, so really one major takeaway from this game. The major takeaway from this game is essentially that when you're mid-tier or bottom tier or even top tier in your cruisers, typically what will happen when you end up outnumbered on a flank is the enemy will just push in, especially if they have better and more battleships than you do. And when you're in a cruiser, even if it's a somewhat tanky cruiser like a Myoko, you're not necessarily going to win a brawl against a battleship. To make things worse, the Myoko has pretty bad torpedo arcs. You can see that I'm stock right now. But even with the Sea Hull, I don't believe the torpedo arcs really improve that much. It just really just affects the AA defense. But typically with a ship like the Myoko and really any cruiser, when you're in that kind of situation, you just need to kite the enemy away. A lot of people will try and hold the flank and just sort of assume that if you lose the flank, all is immediately lost. This is not true, and it's really kind of a basic analysis of, well, I say basic, I mean like sort of a base analysis of how World of Warships actually works. In that situation, what happened was we just gave up the flank. We literally just conceded the flank, and because we fell back to better positions, when the enemy pushed in, we literally just farmed them for all their hit points and totally neutralized that push. That was 2 Tier A battleships and 2 destroyers that completely unopposed pushed a flank, and they lost because we just farmed them as they pushed in. If we had tried to stand and fight against those guys, we almost certainly would have lost this game because we would have died and they would have just pushed into our base unopposed. This is a situation where staying alive was definitely better than just standing, fighting, and dying. So I really hope that videos like this try and promote a little bit more intelligent play in World of Warships, because I see way too many players who charge into the enemy team completely outnumbered, die, and then blame their teammates for not charging in and dying with them. It's really important that you realize that sometimes you just have to concede a flank and try and fight for things that you can actually win. Pick your battles, pick battles that you can guarantee a win on. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time.